It's my first time.
You're new here, aren't you?
First time.
Welcome to Babylon 5 for the first time, not a Star Trek podcast. My name is Jeff Akin, and I'm watching Babylon 5 for the first time. Brent, we're going. Hey, hi.
Oh,
hi.
Are we?
Yeah, we started.
I was just doing my Rubik's Cube, dude.
Well, that sounds pretty exciting.
Yeah, way more exciting than what we have to talk about today. My name is Brent Allen, and I am also watching Babylon 5 for the very first time. We are two veteran Star Trek podcasters watching Babylon 5 for the very first time. We've never seen it. 30 years too late, Jeff.
30 years too late, a couple dollars short, but we're here now. Brent, this is not a Star Trek podcast, but we are Star Trek podcasters. So those references are going to come, and you have laid down the gauntlet more than once. Here's the deal. We get 3 apiece. That's it. No more. If you start laying more down, I'm just going to... That's going to be like 8 minutes of the podcast of it. It's like, no. But we get 3. That's it. That's all we get to stick to. Now, we can barter. We can trade. We can talk about using other ones. But there's going to be no more than 6 references.
Can we borrow from future episodes?
Wow.
Like, can we put it on credit?
Right? Set up an interest thing.
I will gladly pay you 2 Star Trek references tomorrow for the one today.
Right. Oh, man. I don't think I can I have a hard time keeping track of the references in the episode we're in.
You know, if only the banks worked like that. Like, yeah, you just can't keep track of how much I owe you, so let's just call it even, right?
We're good, right? I mean, I hit it pretty close.
Yeah. So that's going to be especially hard because what we do here is we try to search for those Star Trek like messages within the episode. That's not a reference. We're searching for those like messages, not comparing it to Star Trek, but using that analytical lens to apply it to Babylon 5 and trying to decide how much we've liked the series. Jeff,
Brent,
I am very eager to hear from some of the folks out there and how they're doing, because I know you have some stuff and I'm very eager. And
we have a 5-star review.
Oh, yes.
This one is for, I can't say this name. Enfuguesta Auto Parts. It ends in Auto Parts. So like it's Enfuguesta Auto Parts on Apple Podcasts. 5-star review says, this has been a lot of fun to listen to. I had the great fortune to find B5 during the first run of the first season, and it's really nice to listen to Jeff and Brent having that experience since I can't have it again. Thanks, Enfuguesta Auto Parts.
You're very welcome, because, you know, here's the thing. I remember what that's like. There was a podcast that a very good friend of mine, he was taking somebody, it was one of those, like there was the expert and then the new guy. And like it was that podcast I sat there like, oh, if I would have thought about it, I would have done that one first. But that was the thing, is it was, this person was experiencing that thing for the very first time. And it was like reliving it. Like, I totally get what you're talking about in Questa Auto Parts. So hey, I'm glad for you guys to be discovering it and rediscovering that first time view, because Jeff and I don't know what the heck we're talking about when it comes to the show, except for what we've already seen.
Which is not a lot of it. Like, we're not even almost halfway there yet.
No, but we are over a fifth of the way, which is crazy.
Which is pretty huge. We have a website, babylon5first.com. It's the number 5, the word first. And we've got a little contact form on there. And Maycross Schaefer has sent quite a few emails in, and I wanted to share part of one that they sent. It's very kind, very generous, makes me feel good. I like to read it. But they say, love your podcast. Keep up the excellent work. Now it starts coming, and fast. It'll be great to see how you react. Oh, by the way, I give you 6 out of 6 deltas on the show.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't even exist. And that's amazing. High five, Jeff. Let's hear you're on that side. High five, Jeff. The people on the podcast are going to be like, what?
Here. All right. Now they've got it too.
It works great for an audio podcast. If only there was a YouTube version where people could go watch us be absolutely ridiculous fools, Jeff.
Wouldn't that be cool for us to do?
Amazing.
Maybe we should get on YouTube. Oh, wait, we are.
We already are.
We're there.
Hey, did you guys know that you can join us on YouTube? And you guys can check out the full unedited version of Jeff and I recording this show. You can check out my first time responses watching them, as long as WB doesn't shut it down with a copyright claim. You can watch highlights. You can watch upcoming previews at like sneak peeks at our next episodes coming up. All sorts of cool stuff that we have happening over at YouTube. And when you're there, like, subscribe, because that's what we do on YouTube.
That's the YouTube thing. Got one more. Yeah, and this one actually is a discussion point for us. Percy's owner is a regular interactor with us both in quite a few places, and so always good to hear from Percy's owner. But they offer this. They say, I don't think you need to buzz for actors or writers or directors that have been on Star Trek. Sci-fi is a small world. There's a lot of crossover. In this case, an actor, director, writer being in both shows is a fact, not a reference. Basically, if it's on IMDb, it's fair game.
I agree up to a certain point.
Yeah.
I think if we are simply stating a fact of, hey, this person was also XYZ, I don't think that's necessarily a reference. I think a reference is when we're like comparing it, like, oh yeah, like that one time on that show over there when this happened. Yeah. That's clearly a reference. That's a meow. But you like my buzzer?
That was good.
Like, Jeff, you have to be here every week, because if these people out there have to listen to me just going, like, it's not going to work.
It's going to get rough.
Yeah. So I think that should be the rule. Now, Jeff, that's actually going to fall mostly on your shoulders, because you got the buzzer button over there, and you're just going to have to determine in real time, is it a fact or is it a buzzer? And, that's on you, my friend.
Yeah, and those real-time decisions are going to show why I don't pilot an aircraft or a Star Fury, for example.
No, hey, you want to know another reason why people need to go to our YouTube channel?
What's that? So
they can see your awesome Star Fury shirt.
This thing's pretty cool, huh?
I am loving the shirt. I wish they made one my size. Hey, Jeff, you know what we really like here, along with our comments and stuff from people out there?
We like our games.
We like our games. We like our games. And one of the games that we like is where we get to the end of the episode and we guess what the next episode is going to be about, having absolutely zero knowledge of it except for the title that we just learned then and there. The second half of that game is in the next episode at this moment right here, where we try to remember what we said last week this episode was going to be about, and we'll see how right we were or how utterly wrong we are the vast majority of the time, except I think I'm batting like 1,000 so far.
Or maybe like 300, but that's still great. That's great.
Maybe like 850. Maybe like 850.
Sure. 0.0850.
Jeff, do you remember what you said you thought this episode, A Distant Star, was going to be about?
I do. I thought it was going to be about like where the shadows come from and kind of what's their makeup and what does it look like on that distant star that they're coming from. And well, there were kind of shadows in this one, sorta. So I'm going to give myself 0.1 credit on this one.
I'm going to give myself 0 credit on this one, because I don't even know what I said. It was something ridiculous, and it had nothing to do with what this episode wound up being about. I wish I could tell you more. I remember even thinking it last week, like, I have no idea.
That's kind of how I'm going to feel about the end of this one, by the way. Spoiler alert.
Oh, I don't know what the next episode's called yet. That's all right. We'll find out when we get there.
We'll find out.
But yeah, basically I did not guess what this episode was going to be about at all.
But now we're going to find out what this episode was about. For those of you who haven't watched this in a long time, if you're not watching at all, or if you're watching along with us, Brent, why don't you tell us about this second season masterpiece of A Distant Star? There's a little bit of sarcasm in that lead in, by the way.
Well, hey, who's ready for a new ship that we've never ever seen before? This could be kind of cool. It's the EAS, I'm guessing that's Earth Force Alliance ship, Cortez, which is an explorer ship. Kind of sort of looks like a miniature Babylon 5 without most of the whole plating. Just sort of a skeletal Babylon 5 is what it reminded me of. And if you ask me, it is coming to Babylon 5 for what I shall say is, I don't know if this is a reference because it's literally what they said, a 5-year mission.
It's what it was. Yeah. That's a fact.
Its captain is Jack Maynard, who's a snarky old friend of Sheridan's who calls him a swamp rat. Now, Maynard is shocked to learn that Sheridan is going to settle for a desk job. That conversation also sounds familiar. And honestly, so is Sheridan. And just 4 episodes in, it has him rethinking if he really wants this job. And those things that we would normally say is like good leadership moments by Sheridan that we see throughout the episode, well, really, it's just him being moody now and kind of a jerk. More on that later. What's really important here is that we have more news coming in from the Rim. Maynard says that they basically saw a ghost ship out there, but only for a second. Somehow they get to talking about spending time in hyperspace, which I guess is a thing in Babylon 5, that you just spend time in hyperspace. You don't just pop in and out. And nothing can live in hyperspace, right? Right? Or can it? Okay, well, while we think on that, let's check in with a couple of the B plots just so we kind of know what's going on over there. Number 1, the Minbari are beginning to question if Delenn is still Minbari. The whole question is kind of left unsettled by the end of the episode, but we do get this awesome line from Delenn where she says that she is now more Minbari than she has ever been before. I'm sure we'll get back to that in a future episode. The other B plot has Dr. Franklin putting the entire gang on the DVD cover, or at least the ones who show up in this episode anyway, on a diet. That is until Garibaldi gives him some sob story about making really unhealthy food as a way to honor his dead father. And Franklin's like, okay, just this once. And by the way, I'm coming with you because it sounds absolutely delicious and I want dessert as well. Okay, all that's out of the way. Back to the Cortez. They finished their resupply and they're about to take off. And wouldn't you know it, they're out traveling in hyperspace like we just learned that they do. And an explosion rockets the ship and disables it, setting them adrift in hyperspace. Again, because you can just stay adrift in hyperspace and not fall out of it? Sure. Apparently, there's some sort of hyperspace beacon out there, and the Cortez is just drifting away from it, unable to find it. So Sheridan sends out a whole squadron of Star Furies who will act as a relay chain from the beacon to the Cortez. It works, but in doing so, that ghost ship, which looks an awful lot like those ships that we're assuming are the Shadows, are causing a few of those Star Furies to be damaged. The Cortez is forced to leave them behind. Upon hearing the news, Sheridan just begins sulking, and he goes over to the garden because he's lost the Star Furies and their pilots. And Delenn meets him there and comforts him. Not in that way, guys. It's all innocent, I promise. And in the end, she reassures Sheridan that he is, in fact, in the right place. He doesn't need to be going off anywhere else. Just stay right here. And right then, one of the Star Furies with our new guy, Keffer, on board, comes out of the jump gate, having regained control of his ship and donning all the plot armor that he can muster. He's saved. And everyone on board is all excited and they're cheering. And they're so excited that Ivanova names Keffer the new leader of Zeta Wing. So he now has a name and a job to justify him being in the opening credits and on the DVD cover, which I guess means we're just going to be seeing more of him in the future. Well, that's pretty much it for the episode. It just ends with Garibaldi and Franklin indulging in that diet, and Sheridan's in much better spirits, and Keffer saying he wants to track down that ship in the hyperspace corridor, and it just ends sort of right there. Why do you make me do these episodes, Jeff?
It's because I care.
Really? I just thought it's because you don't want to.
That I didn't say what I cared about. Did you know? So Captain Maynard is played by Russ Tamblyn.
Please tell me Russ Tamblyn played like every Tellarite in Star Trek ever. Because he looks like a Tellarite. He looks like a piggy Tellarite, does he not?
He is like the prototype of that. Okay, so dude, Russ Tamblyn. So let me set the stage. I'm watching this episode in preparation to come here and talk to you and all of our incredible viewers and listeners about it. Mm-hmm. I'm sitting next to my best friend, the love of my life, my wife. And she says, I thought the acting was supposed to get better in the second season. Yeah, I'm thinking the same thing. So Russ Tamblyn was nominated for an Academy Award.
Shut up.
Yeah.
No, he was not.
For Best Supporting Actor in Peyton Place in 1956 and won a Golden Globe for the Most Promising Male Newcomer the year before that. Well, I think he won or was nominated for the Oscar in 57 and won the Golden Globe in 56. He's the most one of the most decorated, if not the most decorated actor to have been on Babylon 5.
What, did he take like 30 years off in between and tried to come back? And he was like, I don't know, MJ coming back to baseball or whatever.
Well, he was also he was also on Twin Peaks, and I think he was the doctor, kind of the psychiatrist guy in Twin Peaks. Perfect role for this guy. I don't know anything about Babylon 5 or whatever. I thought to myself, wow, this guy's terrible. Is this JMS pulling, a Stan Lee kind of a thing, or he's going to be in the, oh no, this is an actual, oh my God, this is an actor with a really, really long films. Oh my God, he's an award-winning actor. Wow.
So, I actually had that same thought because I was like, wow, are we still back in season 1? All right, because let's say what it is, Jeff. Season 2 is not off to a great start.
No, it's not.
That first episode was really good. The second episode was kind of like, okay, fine, we're resetting stuff. I get it. Last week's episode was blah. This week's episode was blah. And if next week's episode is blah, I'll just watch the next week's as well. But
but I won't be as happy about it.
I'm mad at you. I'm mad at you people out there right now because you told me it gets better, and it's not.
Sheridan's great. Sheridan is a breath of fresh air, but everything else around it, I'm just like, and they desperately want us to like Franklin. Like they are shoving him into every buddy scene.
This episode made me hate him even more.
I want to read you my note on this one. I said, this is the moment that if I'm Sheridan, I go back and read the notes and I fire Franklin for the Believers incident. Like this is the thing that pushes me over the edge. Stand by. We'll be right back. Are you ready to take your Babylon 5 for the first time experience to the next level? With our exclusive Patreon, you'll get access to all kinds of cool stuff that you can only find there. Our recording notes, unedited reaction videos, an exclusive Discord community. And you can even be listed as a producer of the show. Plus, we even offer exclusive meet and greets and hangouts. You won't find this kind of experience anywhere else. Get all these amazing benefits, plus the opportunity to interact with other fans from around the world. It's being part of a huge community where everyone shares the same appreciation for Babylon 5. Subscribe at patreon.com/Babylon5First. That's the number 5 and the word first to get access to these incredible benefits. That's patreon.com/Babylon5First. We can't wait to see you there.
Look, here's the thing. I'm all for doctors, trying to put their patients on diets and stuff. He did it to one guy and then started like exploding out with it. Like, dude just went on a power trip and he just, it wasn't funny. What was funny? It actually made me laugh. The scene where they're all sitting at the bar facing the camera and they're switching the things, and Franklin comes by and they got to switch I keep saying the things. They switch their plates like to the food that each one wants. Yeah. And then Franklin comes by and says something and they all switch back and Sheridan takes a bite and he's just got lettuce leaves hanging out his mouth.
That's great.
It's hilarious. Comedy gold, that one moment. But I'm not for Franklin at all. I do want to go back though, because this ties into the season 4 is not good so far, and neither was this episode.
2.
That's what I meant. Episode 4, season 2. Neither was this episode. I did wonder at some point if this guest actor, was it the guest actor or was it the writing of the script? Because I don't know that the script was helping them at all either. And I kind of felt maybe it's the script.
DC Fontana wrote this episode.
Shut up. No, she did not.
She did.
That is false. I refuse to believe that the great DC Fontana wrote this crummy of an episode.
I'm going to play some hold music and I want you to go online and look.
Distant Star, Babylon 5. Oh, shut up. Dadgummit.
Yeah, right?
You know what, though? That's just because she was given an outline by JMS and she did the best she could with it. Imagine how bad it would have been if it wasn't DC Fontana.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's like you got a Golden Globe award-winning, Oscar-nominated actor. You've got DC Fontana, and the most exciting thing about this whole episode is Banya Kauda? Is that what? Banya Kuda?
Well, I've never heard of that before in my life.
I want to try it. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, it's fondue. Absolutely.
I'm not an anchovy guy. Like I've never been into that, but this made me question that. I'm like, maybe I am an anchovy guy and I just don't know it.
I can go without them.
Yeah.
Just make it without them. It's fine.
But then it's just literally butter and garlic, and oil.
What's the problem?
Yeah, I guess you're right.
What is the problem?
Half a gallon of butter or something like that, he said.
That sounds amazing. It just
a cool thing though, like with the I don't know, just like the whole setup, like the outline of this was I liked that introduction of the Explorer ship and that concept of like these little mini Babylon stations or whatever go out, look at stuff, they build jump gates, and then the survey ships come like, oh, okay, so that's how they discover the universe. I thought that was some pretty cool universe building.
I thought the ship looked really cool. I was really excited when I saw the ship at the beginning of the episode because I was like, hey, we saw the Andromeda come and drop off Sheridan a few episodes back. Mm-hmm. I don't know if we're getting a new cast member or what, but the idea that we're with ships as they come in and out, not just dropping off passengers, but we're, seeing what's happening with that. Like, that's a really intriguing idea to me as we go out. That's not just Star Furies, right?
Yeah, it expands the world, right? Like there's other ships doing other things.
We're getting to know more Earth Force Alliance people other than just our captain and Garibaldi and Ivanova here. I thought that was really cool. And then they barely did anything with it.
Well, they just showed us it's a piece of garbage. Like it makes a hyperspace jump and it blows up.
Okay, can we please talk about this? Are we getting brand new rules of how hyperspace travel works from Babylon 5 and in this universe than what we've gotten in any other sci-fi show ever?
I think some of the seeds were planted for this. So in
were they?
Yeah. So I think it was in Points of Departure when Sheridan sent the laser little communication into hyperspace to get the Minbari to come out and take out the ship, right?
Mm-hmm.
He said, he's like, yeah, I think they've been waiting in hyperspace for us. There was...
Oh, he did say that, didn't he?
And I think back in season 1, there was something about, I think it was a Vorlon ship, but somebody they had mentioned waiting in hyperspace.
Huh.
So I think like this just expanded on that, right? You go in there and it really, like, I was a navigator on a submarine in the Navy. So I get having like weird points of reference to be able to locate yourself. This really made me think of like pre-Magellan sailors, going off and, there be sea monsters here.
Uh-huh.
They had very primitive navigation. They could use the stars essentially, which is fine, but it's not very exact. That's kind of what hyperspace is. We're at that point where I'm sure hyperspace, and also like, hey, nothing can live in hyperspace, right? Which totally means things are
living in hyperspace.
Yeah, that's going to be an episode in the future. Here's the thing that lives in hyperspace. But there's this whole other world of hyperspace out there that has its own rules. And all we know are the beacons that we've set up on jump gates to kind of triangulate positions for.
Because, see, here's the thing. The way I understand jump gates to work is they fold space. So when you take phase, you fold it, and then you go through one and you come out on the other side. It's not really a corridor as much as you're folding space. So there's nothing to live in. You don't stay in hyperspace. I'm not traveling through hyperspace. It's there versus a wormhole.
Mm-hmm.
A wormhole, which actually is a tube, is a corridor that creates. Now, maybe somebody out there is commenting right now, but in Babylon 5, the jump gates create a wormhole between them. Okay, cool. What happens when the wormhole is de-established?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like we shut off the jump gate. Is this a whole other dimension that people live in?
So there's folding space, which is how they travel in Dune, which literally is like bringing space together, and just like there's no travel that happens. You're here and then you're here. And
right. That's the way it works in Battlestar Galactica too, by the way.
Right, with the jumps, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Boom.
Yep.
They just they're right there. In Star Wars, I used to think forever that hyperspace was a speed. I remember being a kid and playing with my Millennium Falcon and being like, I'm going to go to hyperspace 6.
Right.
But no, it's just hyperspace. And as I was doing a little like going down my Rust Hamblin rabbit hole, I looked up hyperspace on Wikipedia, on the Star Wars wiki.
Wikipedia?
Yeah, you didn't know that?
I've never heard of that before. I don't think I've ever looked up Star Wars and Wikipedia.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I've spent a lot of time there.
Okay, cool. Go ahead. It makes all the sense in the world.
But hyperspace in that world is also another dimension that they enter, and it's just allows like things move at a different rate. Geography is not quite the same, and so I think Babylon 5 is similar. The jump gate opens a door to this other dimension, this hyperspace dimension.
So you're like living in the mycelial network.
Yeah, exactly. Without the instantaneous for it. You have to actually travel through hyperspace.
See, that just I don't like that. I accepted that that's the way it works in this world. Fine. I mean, or are they just dropping into fluidic space?
You're just going. This is
great. It's either fluidic space and this is species 8472, or this is where it is from.
Wow. Yeah. Because down here, everything floats. I've heard a lot of people on YouTube and even on Twitter talk about one of JMS's kind of guiding principles in putting Babylon 5 together was that we weren't going to solve problems with technobabble. We're going to solve problems by doing things, and we're not going to like throw all this weird mumbo jumbo, even if it's rooted in reality science stuff at things. Well, okay. I present to you in direct contrary, direct opposition to that statement, a distant star. Like this is the most convoluted technobabbly blah 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 of how stuff. Like I think I can piece the stuff together in my head of it, but I'm making stuff up here to make it make any sense to me.
Yeah, I don't want to sit here and bore all the listeners with me just going on. I don't like how he did this. This is how it works in Babylon 5. Hyperspace is a thing where things can exist at, and B. So let's talk about from a story perspective, because really that I think as far as forwarding the story, like that's the thing we learned is something is living in hyperspace. We assume it's whatever again, I'm leaning towards the shadows are an organization, not this weird conglomeration of just bad stuff that's about to happen, right? Like I think that's kind of where we both are. They were not on the rim, and then all of a sudden they are on the rim. So maybe they've been living in hyperspace for a while. Maybe that's why they get fuzzy or so. I don't entirely know, but apparently that's where something is. How do we feel about that? That they're just hanging out in hyperspace, shooting people as they go by. Like,
I don't know. You know what I mean? Like I don't have any feelings. Like to me, this literally just presented two facts. That hyperspace works sort of the way it does, and what we assume are the shadows also use it. Like, that's it. It's just like, I don't have a feeling about that. It's like, okay, apparently that's a thing.
And it honestly, like I said, it kind of just makes me angry. Like, I'm like, really?
Well, I think between the last episode and the and literally just kind of being like, hey, here's some stuff and blah, 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 nothing. And then this one being like, well, there's not even really stuff, but also nothing. It's like, what is happening here? I don't think, maybe the shadows went into hiding or whatever in hyperspace. I think there's some other something in hyperspace.
It's sleeping. It's been sleeping and now it's awake.
Pennywise is coming back.
There it is.
It's been a couple hundred years now. Maybe Sheridan, right? He's a descendant of those kids. This is a direct tie. This is a direct sequel to it.
There you go. I like it. That's the theory of the show right there. This better be the highlight for the week. Sheridan is a descendant of the kids from It. I like it.
Literally, the series ends with JMS shaking Stephen King's hand. Like, that's the end.
That's the oomph of this episode.
Yeah.
Okay, so something's there. Awesome. Okay, there's beacons in hyperspace too. Well, I don't want to get back into all that.
Yeah, I think those were the jump gates.
So you have to are these like fireplaces on the Flu network? Like you got to travel to a certain one and pop out at that one? Unless
you have the capability of making your own.
So you don't connect between two specific jump gates. You go into a weird thing and then like, there's the room spinning. Let's go through that one over there.
The way I understood the Cortez talking about just the random huge explosion that was massive and almost killed everybody.
Right.
Like I kept waiting for like some home guard, or terrorist attack thing nope, just a crappy ship falling apart. Like, wow.
It's an old ship. It's been out there on a 5-year mission. It
just got replenished and looked at like it should be in decent shape. But either way, so that happens. Yeah. And what I understood is at first Maynard was like, well, let's just open a gate and get out of here. Like, let's just leave. And they're like, we can't. We don't have the power to do it. We don't have the power to maintain our position.
Yeah.
And Franklin, again, just needs to telling Ivanova to put weight on? Dude, who?
Okay, listen. This dude went Dr. Bashir cringe. I don't know how many I'm up to right now, but I don't care. He went Dr. Bashir cringe. She says this line. It was actually fun. It turns out I am the expanding Russian frontier. And he goes, yeah, but with very nice borders.
Yeah, that was
I'm like,
uncool.
Dude.
Uncool.
Great pickup line if you're actually trying to engage her and she hasn't just completely rebuffed you and said no. Or if you're already in a relationship with her. But outside of that, dude, really?
Wouldn't season 1 of Ivanova, though, bite his head off for that?
Oh, she would have ripped his skull off and used it for a chamber pot.
Exactly. Again, she was more herself in this one than she has been. But again, there's just a real change in her. And I don't know if that's...
Yeah. You were going to talk about Sheridan. I keep interrupting you. I'm going to stop. I
liked the questioning of stuff. I thought that was an important character moment for him. With Sinclair, it made some sense. They really explained why he was put into that position. For Sheridan, kind of wasn't. No, it's the president wants him there. Okay. And he's been talking when he talked to his sister, when he talked to Stinky, as they called him. He's like, no, things are great here. Every day's and he's trying to justify and convince himself he likes this job. And I thought that was cool. Having taken jobs in my life that were not what I thought they were going to be. That's a real thing you go through, and just kind of arguing with yourself a little bit. Is this really what I want? Is this good for my career?
Right. So I was a little torn on this storyline for Sheridan because we're 4 episodes in and he's already going, oh, should I stay or shouldn't I? Oh, should I go or shouldn't I? And there's one point where you're kind of like, okay, he's still early. He hasn't really settled in yet. And he's met somebody and he's been questioning, or he's starting to question whether or not he should. I get that from a logistical real life standpoint. From an entertainment standpoint, I don't want my brand new show lead questioning this 4 episodes in. If he's going to question, he needs to question episode 2, maybe episode 3. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In those early episodes, that's where I want to question it. This far in, this should be a settled deal for him, or this is something that gets brought up in season 3 or 4 or 5.
Right down the road where he's like.
Exactly. So I just, this particular storyline just didn't do much for me. Honestly, it kind of annoyed me, which was really this episode.
In a way, though, isn't this kind of the 3rd episode? Points of Departure and what was the next one? Geometry of Shadows I think Revelations was the second
Revelations,
one.
Yeah.
They were kind of one, they were 2 parts of the same episode, which were second parts to Chrysalis,
Yeah. I mean, if you want to get technical about it, he needed to have this conversation while he was having the conversation about his wife.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It just, I'm as a viewer, I'm not interested in Sheridan going through this right now.
I liked what it did for Ivanova, though. She called him out, right? She's like, look, president put you here. Cool. If I'm your XO, if there's a problem, you tell me right here, right now. And I've been talking about how she's been different or whatever. That was Ivanova right there. Hey, here's a problem. I'm going to confront it head on.
And the note I actually had about that was right now, Ivanova seems like a better CO than Sheridan does.
Wow.
Because of that, look, I need to know if you can do this. Great. If not, fine. I'm going to get somebody and move in, but Sheridan's going through and he's talking to Garibaldi. Garibaldi's like, look, you wanted to be kept informed of what's going on in the station. He's like, yeah, but not that, which on a leadership level, there's yes, I do want to know what's going on, but I want you to handle your stuff first and just tell me in the debrief. I don't need a minute update of the minutia. I get that, but the way he handled it was just moody.
Yeah.
And, it's I just didn't appreciate those pieces too much.
The first time I watched the episode, while that was happening, I was like, yeah, totally define those things you need to be updated on, right? What do you need to be informed about? What do you need to be, brought into the decision making? Yeah, that's great. And then when he just kind of shut Garibaldi down, I was like, whoa, where'd this come from? But then the second time I watched it and had the bigger context, I was that scene wasn't there to show that he was a trusting, hands-off manager. That scene was there to show, stop bugging me with this petty stuff that, you know, this or the delegations that don't want to have their rooms next to each other. Man, it's I think it was all just meant to build that frustration that he's been experiencing. I think that they damaged him as a leader a little bit in doing that, in my opinion. I did love, though, Bruce Boxleitner, you know, the actor, his acting when Kefir at the end came through the jump gate. Like, that was sheer, pure, unadulterated joy. You know, like, yes, like I get it. He's led crews. He's lost people. That's a thing that he knows, but he's in a weird headspace, and this is a dangerous mission and all this stuff. So he's taking the loss of the Star Fury pilots hard. So when Kefir came through, I loved that scene. Like, that moment was just like, yeah, that's cool.
I really like that moment, except frankly with Kefir, I have almost no connection to this cat yet.
I've nothing. Now he's a commander, apparently.
He was like second in command of a particular wing. Is this the new wing that the president delivered way back in that one episode a while ago? Is that what Zeta Wing is? So. Okay. Did he show up with that wing and we just met him? Or like, I need something on this guy, because he just shows up. He's in the opening credits and he's having dinner with the people on the DVD cover. Like, who is this guy? And yes, I thought that moment was well acted that you talked about, Jeff, but I didn't share in that joy because I was like, I wasn't concerned for him. Like, he could have died and I would have been just fine from a viewer standpoint, because he's not a guy that I'm following. He's a red shirt.
Well, he was. You're over.
I'm using your. I'm not even bargaining for yours. I'm just stealing yours now.
Just taking them. But no, I don't think he cared that it was Kefir. Like, in my head, it was just somebody made it back.
Right. It's a guy under my command, and I care about the people under my command, even if I don't know who they are.
Yeah. Cool.
I get that. But as a viewer, knowing that this guy is supposed to be a thing, and this is the episode, you know, Ivanova says to him afterwards, like, hey, I've decided to name you the leader of Zeta Wing.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. What about Alpha, Beta, Gamma, Delta, Epsilon?
Yeah.
Before you get to Zeta.
Yeah.
Zeta's like the sixth letter in the alphabet.
And the other guy, Galdus, they call it was commander. Is it the same level of commander, or is it like flight wing commander? Or I thought I had a handle on the ranks until today. You know, I'm just like, what? Oh, I don't know.
So, but I mean, apparently this guy's going to be a thing. He's a guy. Okay.
I guess.
Sure. If they want me to care about him, they need to make me care about him. The only other thing I really had out of this episode, Jeff, that I want to discuss personally is Delenn.
Yeah.
Now, she had all of 2.5 minutes in this entire episode, but I thought they were probably the most intriguing 2.5 minutes of the entire episode. We see her talking to one of the other Satai.
Yeah, Tehran, I think his name. She said his name was.
Yeah, one of the Grey Council. And, you know, and he just tells her, and I don't even know if it was Grey Council as much as just somebody who's on the station. But he's like, the people here on the station, the Minbari on the station, are asking if you're still Minbari.
Yeah.
Is it appropriate for you to still be the ambassador of Minbar? Because you might not be one of us. And her line is, I'm more Minbari now than I ever was before.
Yeah, I'm more one of us.
Yeah. What does that mean? I want to explore that. I don't know that we have enough information to do it, but that's a cool line.
It's a cool line, but it makes no sense. I was so on Tehran's side. You can't just go through this thing, lie to everybody, and say you did it with the blessing of your government when people know you did not do it with the blessing of your government, and then just walk around like it's not a big deal. What she did is supposed to be a really big deal of some kind, but I don't know anything about it. What I know is that I don't like her look. When she was Minbari Delenn, the makeup gave her like this mystique, this something. Now, she looks like a defiant, petulant teenager who like sticks her chin out and is just kind of arrogant about, I'm more this than you could. What is that even? Who are you?
And
who are you?
Her headpiece, instead of looking attached to her, because we've always debated, like, is that a part of their physiology or is it like a thing? This really just like, it just looks like a thing that she's wrapped around the back of her head. which I know is what it is in real life, but still.
I'm like, how did she brush her hair? Like, clearly it starts at the top of her head and is long and goes down. How did she brush it with that thing? I don't know.
Because it clearly looks brushed.
It's very well styled.
I'm not even joking about that.
Yeah.
Like, it clearly looks brushed, right?
But yeah, I was totally on Turon's side, and I feel like, I mean, it's still only the 4th episode, and only the second one that she, or the third one where she's been out of the cocoon. But I, at this point, don't care that she's changed. All it has done is made her less interesting to me, and made her not. She doesn't have that air of wisdom anymore. Now she has an air of arrogance that I just don't like.
And I think you're right. It's because we don't know what's going on with her. Yeah, and I get it. There's people out there. That's how it's supposed to be. You're going to figure that out. Okay, cool. But right now, my experience is,
Yeah, and also, we're going to figure it out. If I'm the Great Council, Delen's already on my bad side, right? We still haven't decided if we're going to not only kick her out of the Great Council, but if we're going to let her stay as part of Minbari's society. You know, I mean, that's where she got left in that whole thing. Then she goes and does this whole thing. How is she still acting in any official capacity?
Yeah, she's got it. Like, you take her out, even if you just say it's just temporary till we figure some stuff out. You pull her out. You let Lanier take the lead, or you put somebody else in there. That's fine, and you let her sort through her stuff because she's had a big thing going on.
But she's wanting to talk about like some Sector 19 stuff or whatever, and like just get back to work and do business. It's like, no, look at you. You've changed the entire game of who you are and potentially what's happening in the galaxy. You don't get to just call a council meeting
after we told you not to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Explicitly.
Yeah. Now, there's another line that I think goes back to this, that I think it was Sheridan and Sinclair, or not Sinclair, Ivanova, maybe. But they said, talking about Delenn, they said, all that we know about what's happened to Delenn is what she's told us. And, the Minbari, like with their truth, like they tell us what they tell us, but it's never the whole truth. So my question is what is Delenn's whole truth? Because she says, I'm more one of us now than I've ever been before. I think what that means, I think what we're to interpret is she has gone full, like half Minbar, half human.
Yeah, she's full Minbari now. Like
or that both Minbari and humans are evolving together to become this thing. And she is literally, I am more one of us because I am everything.
Yeah. More
than you guys are. Like, I'm more advanced than you guys. I'm a little ascended and you haven't. Like, that's what I kind of feel. And they haven't told us that yet, but that is the intriguing part of this whole piece to me.
Yeah. It's keeping us on the line, right? Like, I'm interested. I still want to know. I just, my problem with it, outside of like, I don't like the makeup. I don't like the way it carries her now. But for me, just from a how stuff works thing, again, it's ridiculous that she's still able to keep her job through this. Like, that's just, that is, of everything that we talked about with hyperspace and everything else, that's the thing in this episode that I'm like, all right, I'm out. Nope.
It takes you out.
Yeah, I'm not buying this at all. Well, even before that, because she had the other piece with Sheridan at the end, right? Where she talked about, we're star stuff. That's cool. I thought that was neat. I liked her take on it, that we're the universe trying to figure itself out. Like, I thought that was cool. Right. But this was word for word, not only Carl Sagan in his book Cosmos, but 2 weeks in a row, I'm so excited. I get to quote another Rush song here because Neil Peart said it even better. He says, I am made from the dust of the stars and the oceans flow in my veins. I look down into a million houses and wonder what you're doing tonight. That's from Presto. Beautiful song, but great. Here I am trying to make, and maybe this is me like coloring it because I don't like the way they're portraying her right now, but look how wise I am talking about the stars and star stuff. Yeah, that book came out in like, what was it, like 1979 or 1980. People know about Carl Sagan. This isn't new wisdom you're dropping, Delenn. Like, Rush wrote a song about it. We're there. It happened. I don't know. It was cool. It was neat. It was interesting. Also a little ridiculous.
Oh, can I talk about a little ridiculous? I'm going to completely change topics on you. Jeff, this will be my final one. Get your buzzer ready. This will be my final one.
This is my final one because I think this is it. This is number 6. So I'll let you have it.
Here you go. You're right. I've just used them all. I don't care. All right, here we go. The B plot with dude trying to go out and find all the little parts for baklava, whatever thing it is. I'm sitting there going, this is a fantastic episode for the No J Consortium.
Yes. I have a little bit of trivia on that guy also.
Okay.
In 2002, there was an epic film that was released that I was working at the movie theaters when it came out, so I had to watch it, and maybe like 6 other people ever watched it. But it was called Joanna Man. Do you know this movie, Joanna Man?
I remember hearing about it. I never saw it, but I am aware of the existence of this movie.
Do not ever see it. Do not ever watch it. There's anything is a better use of your time. But
okay.
But Miguel Nunez Jr., who's the person who played the guy, I think his name was Orwell.
Okay.
At least based on the credits that came through, that he played Joanna Man. Like he was the ball player in there, and it was killing me while I was watching. I'm like, I recognize this guy from somewhere, and there you go, little piece of trivia.
All right, there you go. All right, Jeff. Well, I think we have officially reached that part of the show where it's time to boil it all down and see if the show has any of that Star Trek-y quality to it that we talk about. Maybe it's got a deep moral message. Is there something in there? Does it give us a hope of the future, hold up a mirror to society? Is it asking us a question to consider and grapple with? So with that, Jeff, I am going to rate this episode on a scale of 0 to 5 deltas as to how Star Trek this episode is, but that's not going to leave you sitting there not doing anything, because you, my friend, are going to get to rate this episode on a scale of 0 to 5 Star Furies as to just how much you enjoyed this episode. I shall go first.
All right, let's do it.
Taking my fandom hat off for a moment, because I clearly think I'm a fan of Babylon 5.
Wow. Yeah.
And trying to put on, we are at this point. I think we're fans of the show.
I'm wearing a Star Fury t-shirt right now.
Look, you can't get much. Listen, when you wear the t-shirt of the band that you're going to go see, you are clearly a fan of that band.
Clearly.
You should never do that, though. Anyway, so says Jeremy Piven. Putting on my analytical hat that I've gained as a Star Trek podcaster, and I'm looking for those messages that are in here. And the only one that I find goes back to the conversation we were just having with Delenn of what does it mean to be more than ever before yourself when you have fully evolved. However, they have given us zero information on what's actually going on, so I can't count that. So this one gets no deltas. I find DC Fontana let me down.
Yeah.
I love you, Dorothy, but this one let me down. I'm just going to assume that this was the episode you were assigned by JMS and not your own, because maybe I was just so in shock by the weird hyperspace rules that I missed it. But this one gets no deltas from me. I don't find anything Star Trek-y about this at all.
I can't argue with that at all. Both times I watched it, I couldn't find anything. And you and I actively look for these things. You know, I mean,
yes.
In the first season, like we were even accused of like digging, you know, and like trying to find things because that's what we do.
Right.
Well, Star Furies. Did you ever see, we were talking before we went on mic about Disney stuff.
Yes.
Did you ever see the 1979 Disney joint, The Black Hole?
I saw The Black Cauldron, but I've never seen The Black Hole.
So it came out in 79. It was very much in response to Star Wars when it came out. It's worth watching. When I was a kid, like a little kid, I loved the movie. It's got these cool little robots that like float around. One I think was called Vincent, and I forget the other one. Some great voice acting, some really cool stuff. They had these cool like guns that you held in the middle and had 2 blasters on the sides, and I don't know, it was just a cool thing. But I watched it not too long, actually with Disney Plus. I watched it on Disney Plus, and it's like a 15-minute long movie stretched out to the longest hour and a half I have ever experienced in my life. That's this episode. Like I was so thankful that the food plan diet stuff, just that was there to break up the excruciating story that literally just told us, hey, remember shadows? Yeah, they're in the rim. They use hyperspace. This other guy kind of saw one of them So there's that.
That's it.
I liked the Star Fury. I liked the Star Fury stuff. I really liked that like telescoping daisy chain thing they did. And DC Fontana did write it. I want to come from the place that Dorothy saved this episode. That this would have been an abomination without her. So with kind of all that, I'm going to give this one half of a Star Fury.
I mean, my question when you just said that was, did she save it? Okay, I would not say this episode was an abomination.
Oh, no, exactly.
This is not the first 27 minutes of the episode Infection.
Agreed.
Okay. This is not Soul Hunter, but this is not, it's not, maybe that was my problem. This wasn't a bad episode. It was a blah episode. There's just nothing to it.
If this episode, we don't know what we don't know, but at this point, if this episode did not air, nothing would change. I feel like we could watch Techno Mages and jump right into the next episode and not have missed a beat.
Man, I want Techno Mages back. And I need them in a great episode. All right, Jeff, we've got Deltas. We've got Star Furies. We've got one more thing we got to do.
We do.
One more thing about this particular episode before we get off of it. We are now in season 2 ranking our episodes, kind of like we did in the season 1 wrap-up episode. This is going to be our absolute 100% completely accurate, definitive ranking of Babylon 5, in this case, Babylon 5 season 2. Currently, our ranking stands at Points of Departure, Geometry of Shadows, and Revelations. Jeff, this is your week. I get no say in it. Where do you put in our rankings? It's going to be a top 4 episode, A Distant Star.
This will be a top 4 episode for 2 weeks, a top 5 episode for 2 weeks. And it's going to go right after Revelations in number 4.
I don't think I disagree.
Yeah. I would rather watch Sinclair and his sister than this episode again.
Sheridan and his sister.
Yes, Sheridan. Oh my gosh. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Well, that's it for A Distant Star. Next week, Brent, we guess what the next episode is going to be based on the title alone. We don't look at pictures, summaries, anything. The next episode is called The Long Dark. So based on that title alone, The Long Dark, Brent, what do you think it's going to be about?
Well, I feel like I've been in the long dark for these last 3 episodes.
Wow.
The Long Dark. If this was a show that featured a ship traveling through space, this would be one of those episodes where like they enter like a void type area and they're like alone.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I'm not going to tell you what this episode is going to be about, but I feel like this is one of those episode titles that is very apropos to the episode, but you only get it after you've seen the episode. Does that make sense?
Makes total sense. Yeah.
You can't hear it and guess what it's actually going to be about, but when you see it on the backside, it does make sense. But here's what I will say, because I hate to leave it wishy-washy. I'm going to give it this definitive piece.
Okay.
Sometimes you hear an episode title and you're like, yeah, I have no idea what that's about. And then you watch the episode and you go, that episode was neither about a parliament or about dreams. That title made no sense whatsoever. I will say that by the time we get to the end of the episode, The Long Dark will make complete sense.
Okay.
It's not going to be any question what it means, what it's referencing, what it's alluding to. That'll be the definitive thing that I say. That if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, and I don't think I'm wrong. Like, we will know exactly what it means only after we watch the episode.
Okay. I'm going to steal a page from your book on my guess.
Uh-oh.
Personnel on the station are forced to shelter in Brown Sector for 8 days while a space storm of some kind passes by. Things are a little uncomfortable down there, but they're generally okay until the most recent people that have come onto the station start acting a little suspicious. Ultimately, it's going to bring everyone a little closer together, and the episode's going to end with a movie night.
At least they're not up in like a nacelle tube or something.
Exactly. I mean, what else? I feel like Infection, right? What else could it have possibly been except for the infection? That's this. This is, like you said, this is the starless void of space. This is them in a nacelle tube. This is some place where they're holed up and alone, and they have to like face their demons or whatever to come out.
And they get a good big kumbaya out of it or something.
Exactly.
Like that.
Look how now we're all buddies again. Well, we're going to find out right here next week. Please, if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe to us wherever you're listening or watching us. And please go down, hit the little button, and leave us a review. I love reading your reviews. And if you leave us a 5-star review,
Oh, yes.
we get to hear from Jakar. So
I like the fact that you play that just to tell people to send in the 5-star review.
I think it might be my favorite sound in all Babylon 5 so far.
I agree. Yeah.
And even like his whole like his face when he says it, that whole scene is so good.
I still really like Londo going, yoo-hoo!
I gotta see if I can get a sound. Like, I don't know how that's gonna sound, but I'll see what I can pull down.
Yeah, I don't know.
It could be good. Well, everybody, thank you so much. Until next time.
Jeff.
Oh, no, God, not again. Not again. Come on.
God be between you and harm and all the empty places you must walk.
Wow. Thanks, man. Peace and long life.
It's my first time.